This is my entry for the Archibald this year. The sculptor Bert Flugelman. Bert was my sculpture teacher in 1967. Hopefully it portrays him in the light that he might like to see himself. I want to pay homage to him on his 80th birthday. The concept of this portrait didn't start with a close-up portrait. It started with me going to Canberra to meet him. And so I met him at Canberra Airport, and we drove out to the National Gallery to see his large sculpture called Cones. So I drew him around the cones and wanted to get his reflection from the very high contrasting reflective surface. After having drawn him for a while and then going back to his house and staying, I started drawing him and looking at him closer. Realized what I was really trying to do was to get a close-up portrait of him. So I negated the original concept based on his reflection in the cone and went back to square one and just created that cone shape. And then this was his sculpture sideways and a reflection of him. And then I started to see him more like this, and I thought I could do more with it, so I did a variety of very quick sketches based on just sort of quick caricatures of his face. So him sitting, all the objects are all geometrics. I used to ask him questions all the time about what colour he liked, for example. Does he have a favourite colour? No, I don't have a favourite colour, but I said, well, what colour would you choose if you had a favourite colour? And he said, well, I guess I'd have to say green. I said, well, why green? He said, well, everything I do is drawn from nature. From that point I went to all the colours that are of the Australian bush, which is where he lives and obviously where he drew a lot of his inspirations from. So all these colours in the background are what I perceive as the colours of the Australian bush. When he was teaching me, he wasn't really teaching me about geometry, but I guess he was in a sense, because I now, today, have much more of an appreciation of geometrics because of him. I wanted to create a grid pattern so as to see how he may see things through geometry and extract his inspirations from nature through geometry as well. So we start out with gridding nature, and from that I just let myself try and be inside his head and enter into his mind through his eyes and his ears. So in a flurry of activity I just allowed myself to be how I would be myself if I was doing the same thing, which is what I do. So I allowed that to happen. And just pushing out came into these ovular shapes, and then tried to create the whole face. And create all these ovular shapes around this square grid. I wanted it to be very dynamic, so I enlarged the image of him to the point where he was as big as nature itself. taken me 3 months to complete. A horrendous 3 months because I kept going off track all the time, and so I really might ask him certain things and give me a bit more encouragement to go into another area of thought. And it was like walking a tightrope with it all the time, because it would try to pull away from me, and I so much wanted to make it happen, and I just kept at it until finally I hope I got the expression that I was after. I wanted to keep it as like a working drawing painting, so as to create the feeling of how nature is drawn. I wanted to put my mind where his was, with the extraction of ideas from nature, drawing directly from nature. I was constantly oscillating between where his mind is now, where it was, where mine was and where it is now, and jumping backwards and forwards from that all the time. Each portrait's individual, but I look for one quirky little thing. Bert, I wanted him to be strong and majestic and pensive, and that's what I was striving for in this. Mysterious, pensive, solid as he is in his artistic stature. I wanted his eyes to make you feel like they're drawing you in and taking you out to nature, and in his mind whirling around, all those things. And that's been the hardest struggle, to try and get that character and the expression. It's just one little glint of expression that says, come on, come through with me and discover what I've got. He beckons you to follow him, but at the same time he's a soft man, but he is a strong man. But he's got a lot to say, and especially considering his age, he has said a lot, and has influenced me. I like to paint people I know.